Governor Romney, you keep on trying to airbrush history here.
I could agree more about going forward, but I certainly don't want to go back to the policies of the last 4 years. The policies of the last 4 years.
Good evening, everyone. A heated final presidential debate as President Barack Obama and Governor Mitt Romney try to win over undecided voters. All eyes on South Florida tonight. The debate live from Lynn University here in Boca Raton. We have live team coverage of the face-off in Boca, from inside Spin Alley to instant reaction from debate watchers. We say good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Dunn.
And I'm Michael Williams.
Certainly some sharp exchanges between the candidates tonight in this 2.5-hour debate.
Historic night at Lynn University and the Wold Performing Arts Center behind us. The topic, of course, foreign policy this night. Both President Obama and Mitt Romney, no surprise, saying they wanted to maintain the strongest military in the world. But exactly how they do it or where they think the U.S. military stands now led to one of the sharpest, hardest exchanges of the night.
Our Navy is smaller now than any time since 1917. The Navy said they needed 313 ships to carry out their mission. We're now down to 285. We're headed down to the low 200s if we go through with sequestration. That's unacceptable to me.
The budget that we're talking about is not reducing our military spending, it's maintaining it. But I think Governor Romney maybe hasn't spent enough time looking at how our military works. You mentioned the Navy, for example, and that we have fewer ships than we did in 1916. Well, Governor, we also have fewer horses and bayonets because the nature of our military has changed. We have these things called aircraft carriers where planes land on them. We have these ships that go underwater, nuclear submarines. And so the question is not a game of battleship where we're counting ships. It's what are our capabilities?
Another sharp exchange this night, Kelly. Both gentlemen said, look, we're steadfast friends of Israel. We won't let Iran get the nuclear bomb. We want to see a regime change in Syria. So not a lot of daylight generally on those goals in foreign policy, but another sharp exchange when they talked about how they get there and the perception of U.S. strength therein.
And then the president began what I've called an apology tour of going to various nations in the Middle East and criticizing America. I think they looked at that and saw weakness. Then when there were dissidents in the streets of Tehran, a green revolution, holding signs saying, "Is America with us?" the president was silent. I think they noticed that as well.
Nothing Governor Romney just said is true. Starting with this notion of me apologizing. This has been probably the biggest whopper that's been told during the course of this campaign. And every fact checker and every reporter who's looked at it, Governor has said this is not true.
President Obama making a long defense of his foreign policy record, Kelly, over the last 4 years, including the fact that he said, of course, bin Laden is dead. He said, we're out of Iraq and we're leaving Afghanistan. And at one time chiding Governor Romney over al-Qaeda and the ongoing threat that both admit it continues to pose despite its core leadership being taken out over the last many years. Listen to this exchange.
Governor Romney, I'm glad that you recognize that al-Qaeda is a threat. Because a few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not al-Qaeda, you said Russia. And the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back.
Attacking me is not an agenda. Attacking me is not talking about how we're going to deal with the challenges that exist in the Middle East and take advantage of the opportunity there and stem the tide of this violence. But I'll respond to a couple of things you mentioned. First of all, Russia, I indicated, is a geopolitical foe. Excuse me, it's a geopolitical foe. And I said in the same paragraph, I said, and Iran is the greatest national security threat I have clear eyes on this. I'm not going to wear rose-colored glasses when it comes to Russia or Mr. Putin. And I'm certainly not going to say to him, I'll give him more flexibility after the election.
That a comment about a conversation between the president and Putin some many months ago. So sharp exchanges on foreign policy, though. Kelly, at points you thought this was another replay of debates 1 and 2 as both men tried to turn the discussion from foreign policy to national security. They said is predicated on economic strength, and that was a replay of some of their economic arguments.
Certainly contentious, but with that table at the table, I think it also kind of kept that from getting as nasty as some of the previous debates.
We'll see what they're saying, including places like the spin room.
Well, and they are spinning it on both sides right now, and News Channel 5's Roxanne Stein is inside gauging reaction. Roxanne?
It is spinning in Spin Alley. It is crammed. 3,000 credentialed journalists, and I think about 2,000 spinsters for all the candidates, for the two candidates. And I'm joined by a very familiar face in South Florida politics, Congressman Ted Deutsch. Thank you for your time.
Great to be here.
I know how you think your candidate did, but if he had a point where he could have a do-over, what do you say it would be? Did he have a trouble spot tonight?
I don't think that he did. I think that the president did exactly what we knew he would do, which is show what a strong, steady commander-in-chief is like. This is the president who's made our country safer and more secure. That's what was on display tonight. And I thought, especially in South Florida, where the issue of Israel comes up so often, this is a president who made clear what all of us know, that he is a great friend of Israel, saying that he will stand with Israel, he will prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, and pointing out in one of the most dramatic moments of the night that when he went to Israel, he didn't take donors, he didn't go to fundraisers, he went to Yad Vashem, he went to Sderot, and as a result, that's guided his policy in providing the Iron Dome missile defense system to keep Israelis safe.
Very quickly, Congressman Deutsch, the president and his opponent turned very quickly to the economy on a night of foreign policy talk. How do you think they fared and your candidate fared, the president?
Well, the president was very clear that we're a stronger country when abroad, when we're strong at home. He talked about the need to make the kinds of investments in education, the kinds of investments in infrastructure and research that are necessary to keep us strong, and pointed out that Governor Romney's economic policies slash those programs. It's a distinction that's very important.
Thank you, Congressman Deutsch. Democrat
Great to be with you.
Congressman Ted Deutsch speaking about the president's performance this evening, but we have the Republican side as well. I'm joined now by my colleague Shannon Cake with another familiar South Florida face in politics. Shannon?
Indeed, if you're from Palm Beach County or anywhere on the Treasure Coast, you're familiar with E. Clay Shaw, the former congressman. Thanks for being with us, and give us your Republican idea of how things went tonight.
Put the Republican spin on it now.
That's right. Give us that view.
We've heard the Democrat spin. I think it was a good debate. I think both of them, for the most part, were gentlemanly to each other. I think the good news coming out as far as Republicans are concerned is that I think that Romney, in fact, I know Romney had the edge on the facts and substance. He also looked very, very presidential. He was respectful, though, which I think is tremendously important. But he was very clear on which way he was going. He set down his plan for balancing the budget and economic recovery. And these are things that the president has been saying that he hasn't done, but he has now. And I think that I think he did himself a lot of good. And I think this may put the election away. But I think the best statement that he made all evening was that right at the end when he said that he's going to work with Democrats and Republicans. He did it in Massachusetts. He's going to do it in Washington. That's what the American people are crying for. They're sick and tired of the bickering, backbiting, and all that's going on in Washington, the unpleasantness and the lack of civility. That must be returned to our capital. And the only one that can do it is President Romney. And so I think that hit a note with the voters tonight.
Congressman E. Clay Shaw.